I used AI to reconstruct 1500s Vatican City, the buildings, the chapels, the secret rooms, based on historical records, Renaissance paintings, and what's still standing today. And this place is insane. The most famous ceiling on Earth was painted by a man who hated the job and wrote a poem about how much pain he was in. The biggest church in the world was funded by selling forgiveness to terrified peasants. A pope dug up a dead pope, put the corpse on trial, chopped off its fingers, and threw it in a river. And the most powerful family in Vatican history poisoned cardinals at dinner to steal their money. Walk with me. We start underneath, literally underneath St. Peter's Square, because before any of this was the Vatican, it was a killing field. In 64 AD, Emperor Nero blamed Christians for the Great Fire of Rome. He executed them here, on this exact ground, in his private chariot racing arena called the Circus of Nero. Christians were burned alive as human torches to light the track at night. Others were torn apart by dogs while the crowd watched from the stands. There's a 16th century engraving by Carlo Fontana that shows the layout of Nero's circus, the oval track, the central obelisk, the stands. I brought that engraving to life in AI. And when you see it, you realize St. Peter's Square is sitting directly on top of it. According to tradition, the Apostle Peter was executed here, crucified upside down because he didn't consider himself worthy of dying the same way as Jesus. He was buried on the hill just outside the arena. And that obelisk, the one standing in the center of St. Peter's Square right now, it was the centerpiece of Nero's circus. Same stone, same spot. It's been standing here for nearly 2,000 years. It watched Christians die. Now it watches tourists take selfies. Come with me inside. Before the St. Peter's Basilica there was another one, Old St. Peter's, built by Emperor Constantine around 326 AD, directly over Peter's grave. It stood for over 1,100 years. By the 1400s, it was falling apart. The walls leaned 6 feet off vertical. The roof leaked. The frescoes were covered in dust. But it was the most sacred building in Christianity. The place where Charlemagne was crowned Holy Roman Emperor on Christmas Day, 800 AD. And in 1506, Pope Julius II made a decision that shocked the Christian world. He ordered it demolished, torn down. One of the oldest churches in Christendom, ripped apart to make room for something bigger. There are detailed drawings by Martin von Hemskerk from the 1530s. He sketched Old St. Peter's while it was being destroyed. Half the building still standing while the new one rose behind it. I brought those drawings to life in AI. And what you see is a 1,000-year-old church being eaten alive by a construction site. People were horrified. A church built on Peter's tomb where popes had been buried for a millennium, demolished. Tombs were relocated, mosaics smashed, altars stripped, all because one pope wanted a building bigger than anything the Roman Empire ever built. And how did he plan to pay for it? Indulgences. The Vatican sold forgiveness. Here's how it worked. The church told people that when you die, you go to purgatory, a place of suffering where you burn off your sins before entering heaven. Your dead mother? She's in purgatory right now, burning. Your dead child? Burning. But, and here's the genius part, if you pay the church, they'll reduce the sentence. Pay enough and you can spring a soul from purgatory entirely. A Dominican friar named Johann Tetzel traveled through Germany selling indulgences with a jingle. As soon as a coin in the coffer rings, a soul from purgatory springs. He was a traveling salesman for salvation. Half the money went to Rome to fund the new basilica. The other half went to pay back a German archbishop's debt to an Austrian banking family. The holiest building on earth was financed by a protection racket against the dead. In 1517, a monk named Martin Luther had enough. He wrote 95 arguments against indulgences and nailed them to a church door in Wittenberg, Germany. The building of St. Peter's Basilica directly triggered the Protestant Reformation, the biggest split in Christianity in 1,500 years. The church that was supposed to unite Christendom tore it in half. Now let me take you inside the Apostolic Palace, up to the second floor. There's a suite of rooms most tourists walk right past, the Borgia apartments. Painted by Pinturicchio in the 1490s, ceiling to floor with frescoes so beautiful, they'll stop you in your tracks. The man who commissioned them was Pope Alexander VI, Rodrigo Borgia, the most corrupt pope in history. He bought the papacy through bribery in 1492, the same year Columbus sailed. He fathered at least 7 children by multiple mistresses. He moved his teenage mistress, Giulia Farnese, into a palace attached to St. Peter's Basilica. Their relationship was so well known, she was called the Pope's concubine across Italy. His son, Cesare, was so ruthless that Machiavelli used him as the model for The Prince, the handbook for political power. Contemporary chroniclers reported that bodies of murdered men were fished from the Tiber River every single day during Cesare's peak. The Borgia's weapon of choice was cantarella, a mysterious white powder, likely arsenic-based, that could kill in a day, a month, or a year, depending on the dose. They poisoned cardinals, then seized their estates. 3 high-ranking churchmen died suspiciously in 1503 alone, and the Borgias immediately confiscated their wealth. In August 1503, Alexander VI hosted a dinner at a vineyard owned by Cardinal Adriano. Both the Pope and Cesare fell violently ill afterward. The Pope vomited bile, his body swelled grotesquely, and he died within days. His corpse reportedly turned black and bloated so rapidly that undertakers could barely fit it into the coffin. The popular theory? The Borgias accidentally drank their own poison. Walk with me upstairs. This is the room. The most famous ceiling on earth. 6,000 square feet of fresco painted by one man between 1508 and 1512. Michelangelo didn't want this job. He was a sculptor. He'd never completed a fresco in his life. When Pope Julius II ordered him to paint the Sistine Chapel ceiling, Michelangelo tried to refuse, twice. He even suggested the Pope give the job to his rival, Raphael. Julius wouldn't hear it. So Michelangelo designed his own scaffolding, a flat wooden platform that jutted out from the walls, 60 feet above the chapel floor. He stood on it and painted overhead for 4 years. Paint dripped into his eyes constantly. His neck and back were destroyed. His eyesight was permanently damaged. For months after finishing, he could only read by holding paper above his head. He wrote a poem about it, sent it to a friend, described his spine bent like a bow, his chest crushing against his chin, paint raining down on his face. The poem ends, "My painting is dead. I am not in the right place. I am not a painter." He painted over 300 figures, 9 scenes from Genesis. The creation of Adam, probably the most recognized painting on earth, was done on fresh, wet plaster that had to be finished before it dried. Each section was a single day's work. One mistake and the entire panel had to be scraped off and replastered. And the whole time, Julius II climbed the scaffolding to inspect progress and screamed at Michelangelo to work faster. When Michelangelo asked when the ceiling would be finished, Julius reportedly answered, "When it satisfies me." Michelangelo shot back, "It will be finished when I've done all I can." The ceiling was unveiled on October 31st, 1512. Michelangelo was 37 years old. He'd aged decades. 5 million people visit this room every year. Most spend about 15 minutes looking up. The man who painted it spent 4 years in agony. Now, come outside. Walk out into the sunlight. This is St. Peter's Basilica as you know it. The dome, the columns, the square, the largest church in the world. It took 120 years and over a dozen architects to build. Started in 1506, not finished until 1626. Every pope who touched it changed the design. Bramante drew the first plans, a Greek cross with a massive central dome modeled on the Roman Pantheon. He started tearing down old St. Peter's with such enthusiasm that Romans nicknamed him Bramante the Wrecker. He died in 1514 with only the 4 central pillars standing. Raphael took over. Then Antonio da Sangallo. Then, in 1546, Michelangelo. He was 71 years old. He'd already painted the Sistine chapel ceiling and carved the Pietà that sits inside the basilica's entrance. He accepted the job for free, calling it his service to God. Michelangelo designed the dome. He didn't live to see it finished. He died in 1564 at age 88 with just the drum completed. Giacomo della Porta finished it 26 years later. The dome rises 448 feet from the floor. You can climb inside it, 551 steps to the top. The walls narrow as you ascend. Near the top, the walls lean inward and you have to walk at an angle. It's claustrophobic, disorienting, and when you reach the lantern at the top, you can see all of Rome. There's an engraving by Etienne Duperac from 1569 that shows Michelangelo's design for the dome before it was built. Just the drum sitting there, waiting. I brought that engraving to life in AI, and you can see the moment where one of the greatest buildings on earth was still just an idea sitting on 4 pillars. Come back down and walk with me into the square. Gian Lorenzo Bernini designed this space in the 1660s. 4 rows of columns, 284 in total, forming 2 enormous arms that curve out from the basilica and wrap around the square. 140 statues of saints stand on top, looking down at you. Bernini described it as the arms of the church reaching out to embrace the faithful. But walk into the center and look around. The columns are so massive and so perfectly placed that once you're inside the embrace, you can't see anything beyond them. No Rome, no streets, no outside world. Just the Vatican. It was designed to make you feel small, to make the church feel infinite, to funnel 80,000 people toward the balcony where the Pope appears. And that Egyptian obelisk in the center? Still the same one from Nero's circus. When they moved it 260 feet to center the new square in 1586, it took 900 men, 75 horses, and 44 winches. Pope Sixtus V ordered absolute silence during the operation on penalty of death. One sailor noticed the ropes were about to snap from friction heat, broke the silence, and shouted for water. Instead of being executed, he was rewarded. His family was given the right to supply the Vatican with palm fronds for Palm Sunday, a right their descendants held for centuries. Before you leave, one more stop. Back inside the Basilica, down into the grottoes beneath the church where over 90 popes are buried. This place has seen things no holy ground should see. In January 897, Pope Stephen VI ordered the body of his predecessor, Pope Formosus, dug up. Formosus had been dead for 7 months. They dressed the rotting corpse in full papal vestments, propped it up on a throne in a courtroom, and put it on trial. A teenage deacon stood behind the body and answered questions on behalf of the dead pope. Formosus was found guilty of perjury and illegally becoming pope. His papal acts were annulled. The 3 fingers he'd used to give blessings were hacked off. Then the body was stripped, dragged through the streets, and thrown into the Tiber River. A monk later fished the body out. According to legend, when the corpse was recovered, the statue of St. Peter's Basilica began to weep. The Cadaver Synod. It happened in the building that stood on this exact ground. Walk back out to the entrance. You'll see them. The Swiss Guard. The men in the striped uniforms holding halberds. Tourists take photos with them like they're decorations. They're not decorations. They're the oldest active military unit in the world. Founded in 1506, the same year construction on the new basilica began. Pope Julius II recruited them from the Swiss cantons because Swiss soldiers had a reputation as the fiercest mercenaries in Europe. On May 6, 1527, they proved it. Emperor Charles V's army, 20,000 mutinous, unpaid soldiers, stormed Rome. The sack of Rome. Churches burned, nuns assaulted, cardinals held for ransom, priests murdered in the streets. 147 Swiss guards made a last stand on the steps of the old basilica while Pope Clement VII fled through the Passetto di Borgo, a secret elevated corridor that connects the Vatican to Castel Sant'Angelo, the fortress across the river. You can still see the Passetto today. It runs along the top of a wall about 800 meters long. Of the 189 Swiss guards in service that day, 147 died defending the Pope. 42 survived. Every May 6th, new recruits are sworn in on the anniversary. The men in the funny uniforms died almost to the last man so a pope could escape through a tunnel. One last thing. Deep inside the Vatican, behind walls that tourists will never pass, are the Vatican Apostolic Archives, renamed from Secret Archives in 2019 because the word secret made people too curious. 53 miles of shelving, documents spanning over 1,000 years, the papal bull that excommunicated Martin Luther, Henry VIII's request for an annulment that the Pope refused, leading England to break from the Catholic Church entirely. Letters from Michelangelo complaining about not being paid, Galileo's trial transcripts from 1633 where the Vatican forced him to deny that the Earth orbits the Sun, and sealed sections that researchers still can't access. The Vatican renamed them, changed secret to apostolic. But 53 miles of papal documents behind restricted access? The name change didn't make them less interesting. Everything I showed you, you can still see it. Nero's obelisk is still in the center of the square. The Borgia apartments are still on the 2nd floor of the Apostolic Palace. Michelangelo's ceiling is still 60 feet above the Sistine Chapel floor. The Passetto Tunnel is still connecting the Vatican to Castel Sant'Angelo. And 90 popes are still buried in the grottos beneath the basilica, including the one they dug up and threw in a river. If there's a city you want me to rebuild next, drop it in the comments. Thanks for watching.